Hi there, I'm Drutter. It's April 21st, 2020, and it's day 37 of my lockdown diary. I've been reporting here from southern British Columbia. I live in a small town for the past month and a bit, not every day, but most days, and I just bring a little bit of news, what's going on in my area, some headlines I'm following around the world, a bit of numbers, some data, a bit of analysis, and sometimes some personal anecdotes from what's going on here in my life. And right now what's going on apparently in the world is 178,000 people have died now from the virus. From the virus, or something that appears to be like the virus, because now, as we hear, the USA is padding their numbers, I guess you could say. They're not calling it that, obviously, but they are reporting deaths that aren't just coronavirus deaths. They're reporting deaths that are suspected of being the virus, but no actual test to confirm it. So there will be false positives in the deaths from the US numbers, guaranteed now. And that's probably why we're seeing, I'll put up on the screen, the numbers showing that they are the worst country at handling this. Absolutely the worst. I mean, shouldn't they be embarrassed by saying, look, we're 40 times or 50 times more incompetent than China at handling an outbreak? We had even more time to prepare. They were first hit, and they managed to have almost no one die compared to us. We're having, per capita, we're having far more people die. And not just per capita, but even nominally, we're having far more numbers die in the US. It's a disaster there, apparently. But is it really? Here in Canada, the numbers continue to be fairly moderate. I think we are at or after now the peak, and it hasn't been as high as anticipated, and I think a lot of that is the social distancing and the strict draconian measures that have been enforced on us. And it did have a positive effect, I think. And we're seeing only 2,000 dead in Canada, not even 2,000 yet, dead in Canada, and here in BC not even 100. And that is a lot of people, but not a lot of people compared to, say, die from cigarettes. And we not only haven't banned those and caused an entire national, worldwide outrage against cigarettes, but we have legalized them and sell them to anyone 19 and above. So I don't really understand what's going on here unless my suspicions are correct, and those suspicions are that there's some shenanigans. And, well, maybe not just shenanigans. Let's say that some people are attempting to make a power play and change the entire world to be more like their version of what they think the future should be for humanity. That sounds grand, but I don't think that I'm really that far out there with that, and I think that some people watching this have some theories along those lines. Here, though, the lockdown continues, of course. Nothing really opening. There's no relaxing or any reopening yet of any kind. In fact, the momentum still feels like it's, let's shut more down, let's restrict things more, less hours at the shops. We only can come in between 10 and 5 instead of 7 and 7. And some of those hours are reserved for people with certain issues like autoimmune conditions or elderly, for example. There's item limits, there's price fixing, there's all kinds of socialist kind of interesting economic experiments going on right now here in Canada. And no, it's not reopening yet. And I think some people didn't stop working. My brother, hey, if you're watching, how's it going, bro? He lives nearby, and he has reported to me that in his neighborhood almost everybody is still working, either because they're considered essential or because they just have chosen to continue to work, because it's safe for them, or they've just deemed it safe, or they've decided it's safe, or I think in some cases people think there is actually no threat at all. So there's people that that feel there's no threat, and there's people that feel there is a extreme threat. We have people hiding in their homes, cowering, people extremely fearful, just ready to do whatever the system tells them to do. They are ready and up for grabs. And there's people in denial who say nothing, nothing happening. And I don't know why everyone's acting so strangely. And then you get the other sort of people that are the opposite. They say, let's get back to work, let's get together and have big parties and get people, mixing, and no more social distancing and all that kind of stuff. So there's a real mix of theories about what to do next. Personally, I have been mostly in isolation here myself, only going out for essentials. I don't really think that the government has a right to tell me I can't leave my house, no matter what kind of health scares are going on out there. I didn't hire them for that. I don't think that that's in their mandate. I don't think that's in their job description. And for me, me and my family do as I say, and currently we are leaving the property if we need to. We're not limiting ourselves to once a week, and we are just not spreading the virus. It's about not spreading the virus. If we were to have it, we are not spreading it to others. If others were to have it, we are not getting it from them. That's what it should be about, I think. But a few days ago I reported how it seems to be more about controlling people than the virus now. Really, they don't really care. The gloves are just kind of for show, and I think it's more about this controlling society, changing society and controlling people. I've said that all along, really. But that has become very obvious, and they've made it obvious by their actions. It's not really about the virus anymore. So we got some people that are very paranoid and fearful, and we got people that think there's nothing going on. And in my opinion, the viral threat is moderate. And I've been saying that for a while. The threat is moderate. The threat to liberty is high. The threat to the economy is high. But the health threat is moderate. People are really having trouble gauging this thing. Some people are saying the threat is 0. Some people are saying it's 10 out of 10. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's somewhat dangerous. And it's really the response to it that is the most dangerous part, though. And I think I've been saying that all along, too. So now we've got protests happening all over. And these protests themselves are protests because it's civil disobedience just to hold a protest now. So if you want to protest what the government's doing, with this lockdown stuff, you also have to protest the fact that they've made it illegal to gather. They've made it illegal to be in groups of more than 2 people. Isn't that stupid? 2 people? What, is that a group even? Groups of 2? Basically, you can, if you have a baby or a child, you can be out with your child, and that's it. What if you have 2 kids and you're a single parent? I guess you have to have a babysitter for the other one at home? I don't know. But there's a lot of people probably in some weird predicaments because of these weird, restrictive, draconian rules. And I do support the protests. I think they call them reopen protests. #reopen, I guess. I support it 100%, absolutely. And I think there's even one was here in this small town last weekend or the weekend before, and I missed it. I didn't even hear about it. I would have at least considered it if I had heard, so I'll keep my eye out if that's going to be happening again. And yeah, I support protest. I am an activist at heart. I've been doing civil disobedience of unjust cannabis laws for many years. That's my thing. I think protest is important, especially civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is the peaceful, public breaking of unjust laws. All those words are important in the definition. The peaceful, public breaking of unjust laws. And civil disobedience is our duty as free people. That's not our right. It is a right, of course, but it is also, and more importantly, it's our duty. We must break publicly and peacefully unjust laws. Please, if you are not doing that, that is your duty. If you are a free person, you must do that in order to remain free. That's how it works. So please join me in some civil disobedience of unjust laws, peacefully and publicly breaking those laws. That's what civil disobedience is, and I support it 100%, and that's what those people are doing when they're protesting right now. It's all over Canada and the US. It's being reported even in the mainstream media, for whatever that's worth. So, and Facebook is banning any support for the protests. So you can tell that the mainstream's not happy about the reopen movement. They want things clamped down. The deep state, Facebook, the government, they want that all shut down. They want that wrapped up. It's kind of like they don't want it to get out of hand, like the yellow vest movement kind of thing. And yeah, I think it's time to end the changes to society, the changes, the forward momentum further and further into lockdown. We have to stop that. That's over now. We've peaked. I said that a few days ago, a week ago, more than a week ago. I said, I think we are peaking in deaths. Just, I think. A few days later, I said, yes, looks like it is peaking now. And now, finally, the mainstream saying, yeah, looks like things are peaking. And you know what? It wasn't as bad as it could have been. It could have been a lot worse. And we have succeeded. And I think we need to be rewarded for succeeding at blunting that curve, or whatever they call it, flattening the curve, stopping the assault on the healthcare system, etc. It is bad in many places, but for the most part, that has been avoided. That tidal wave has been avoided. And a lot of it is due to the lockdown. And people are tired of it. They're just tired of it. And there is going to be a reaction at some point. There will be a reaction. That has to be. That pressure that's building up, that free market that's trying to come back out again. It will not be stopped. And I think they know that, so they know that there's a response coming. So maybe they're banking on that, right? The response, and then they can enforce against that response. And they can say, people are out of control, we have to go to the martial law, whatever. So that's kind of where this is probably being pushed, I think. But I think we need to at least end the forward changes into more lockdown. Don't put us further into lockdown. That is enough. It was enough a while ago. Now we have peaked. Now we need to get the economy going. Not the same economy as before, but we need to allow that free market to work. There's things that need to be purchased, things that need to be bought and sold, things that need to move around, things that need to be produced and grown. That's all trying to happen. And we're seeing things like negative interest rates, negative prices for oil. We're seeing milk and food and meat and vegetables just thrown into fields and plowed over to try and fix what's going on in the broken economy. And that's not going to work. That's actually going to destroy things even more, to destroy food, because that is going to lead to food shortages, which I've been talking about since the beginning of this as well. And they have now manifested, and the media has said, oh shit, the government has announced there's going to be food shortages. They're coming. There's going to be no food on the shelves. And we've already seen many different things disappearing at many different points in this process. Food being very scarce, limits, prices increasing, etc. So stop making new changes. We've peaked. And the damage that's being done to society is huge. It's great. It's huge. It's massive. So stop these changes. Like the end of stores. I talked about 2 days ago. They're trying to end stores. All purchases in person. No more in-person purchases. No more cash. They want to do away with it completely. No, stop that. They're taking advantage of the crisis. We know that. We knew that they would do that, and that's what they're doing. And now perhaps it was organic, perhaps it was just profited upon, perhaps it was completely fake. Don't know yet. But something happened in Canada the other day, and they're saying now we have to clamp down immediately and take away all the guns in Canada. So things are moving quickly here while we're in quarantine. And I was thinking, what's one problem with that situation over there in Eastern Canada? Everything's locked down because of this threat. And also locked down because of the shooter yesterday. So that whole area is a giant mess, and no one knows what's going on. There's no alternative media allowed to move about, do interviews, ask questions over there. Nothing. There's just the mainstream media telling us this is what happened. There's a house burnt down. Look, here's a burnt down car. There was a chase. How many people are dead? 23 now. Maybe that number will keep going up. Holy shit, now it's 30. Better pass those gun laws. Holy shit, it was 33, 38. Look at how many dead bodies you're not going to see on TV, right? Just the number. I don't know, but these are the thoughts of someone who's been through a lot in the past 12 years following these kind of stories, and a lot of the stuff has turned out to be almost all faked, almost all theater to bring about these changes. And when I'm reminded of that, those changes they talk about, I'm reminded of that speech, or it was a paper that Mark Carney wrote the governor of the Bank of England. He used to be from the Bank of Canada, a famous central banker in the world. He made a speech and he said, the game's about to change. And that was 8 months ago, and my ears perked up when he said that, because he is one of the elite. He is one of the chosen ones. And he said, we need a new system. And he actually said the words, we need a new world order. He announced a new world order coming. And I believed him. And I wrote an article about that, and I said, that's your last notice before a new world order goes into effect. And we're seeing it now. They have announced 2 days ago, again, using the words, new world order, a new world order. It's the exact one that Mark Carney spoke about 8 months ago. He said, we're going to have a world currency, and all the world's currencies are going to go digital, virtual currencies. Not cryptos, no privacy, not decentralized, totally controlled by the central banks. And the world currency was going to be the SHC, the shekel. And he said, it's not about the individual anymore. We are all responsible for the society now, he said. Where have we heard that so many times before? More and more lately. It's not about you. It's not about the individual. It's about all of us. We all have to take part. We all have to do our part in preventing the spread of this virus. I mean, we all have to do our part, because it's not about the individual anymore. We're all responsible for the economy, Mark Carney was telling us 8 months ago. And he was saying there's going to be a new world order, and it's going to be a virtual currency and a one world power. He called for that. He said that's what's needed. And very few people heard that. And I did an article on that. Last notice before New World Order. And this is what is happening now. It was announced by name, a New World Order, a virtual currency in the United States, a virtual US dollar. This economy is completely broken. It's time to get back to a free market economy. It's time to let the forces of supply and demand do their thing, which they're trying to do. And that's evidenced in the form of human beings doing protests, or trying to get back to work, or sneaking in a little work under the radar. They're not trying to profiteer. Some of them maybe are, but most people are just trying to feed their families. Most people are just trying to get things running again, keep their businesses alive, keep their economic interests running. People aren't, for the most part, out to destroy the government and cause problems for the economy and profiteer off of everyone else, except for those maybe in banking and a few other sectors, but let's not talk about that here. It's time to reopen the economy, and I'm not just talking banks, I'm talking small business, and at least end these continued draconian measures that they keep on pushing forth, like talking about ending stores forever. That's it. No more. It's time to get back to work. It's time to reopen. I support those protests. Talk to you guys soon. Stay well.